What media properties do you think are doing it right beyond Business Insider?
Well, I mean, I have a vested interest, obviously.
Right.
I have a vested interest in BuzzFeed.
Right, we know that too.
doing that terrifically. But listen, there are a lot. I mean, there's Vice. There are a lot of different. You know, there's a whole list of both new and some traditional. You know, Daily Mail. John. You know, I think John. You know, of course, he cut his teeth in sort of what's deemed new media. I'm not. It's all media today to me, but. But, you know, I think that a lot of places, Bloomberg's done a lot of interesting things. Everybody is trying to figure it out. But the hard part is how do you move away from the legacy model of I've got very high fixed costs, great people, but they're expensive as hell. They're only so productive.
I want to get to that.
How do I embed that?
Right.
Because ad rates online are not making up for the cost of the kind of product we see offline or you know, AP, Bloomberg, other things aside. And I wonder if we will have a robust media world in a world where ad rates are so much lower but costs really aren't.
So it's an interesting question, and I don't think any of us really know. What I can tell you is, at the moment, for the last 10 years, for the next 10 years, you have so much money, so much ad money pouring in, that frankly that will mask maybe a lot of the issues I think that you're ultimately asking about, which at some point in the future will be, you know, can you really, as those rates come down, those click-through rates, et cetera, come down, which they will over time, and they'll be much more assignable. You'll be able to understand intent more, pay much more on, you know, on a real-time basis. When that happens, what will you be left with? And my guess is that a lot of the answer is going to be, and what do you do with the data about your readership? How it's changed.
So the data generated might be a third revenue source when you don't have subscriptions and you don't have robust advertising revenue. The data about those viewers, readers,
could be
watchers.
On a macro anonymized level. I mean, I'm not even talking about the data that may be psychographic or specific to individuals. That's a different...
Like the Ashley Madison data.
Like, for instance, the Ashley Madison data. Right.
But some of that data is going to be very valuable when you can do very targeted advertising. And we talked about this today on Bloomberg Radio, where you can do a very targeted profile of ads for you. That's got to be valuable going forward.
You know, one of the interesting things, and this is true at Amazon, it's true really everywhere today, if you go out and buy a blender, guaranteed you'll start seeing blender ads. Right. Now,
after I bought the blender.
This is the state. This is state of the art today. This is where we are with a sort of collaborative or connected.
I've got the blender. I'm good.
Right. And so, at what point? And you know, we think we're pretty advanced, but actually, we're still back selling you blenders when you just bought one. So you know, at what point do we start to understand, or start to be able to put in algorithms? I should say. It's not that we don't understand the problem, but to where we're actually selling you the things maybe you want now that you've bought the blender. And it's not as easy as it sounds over a big population.
Is there, let me ask you, we're almost out of time, but the BuzzFeed headlines, have become infamous for clickbait.
Yes.
Is there a point at which that you worry as a long-term investor that will exhaust the ability to attract viewers, that someday a viewer is not going to see 9 things you got to know before you use the bathroom again to get a click, because the users in the not just the bathrooms but of BuzzFeed will decide, you know what, they've tricked me too many times with stupid stories, I'm not going to do that. Or conversely, since the New York Post and tabloids have been around for over 100 years and those headlines still work, it'll always work. How do you look at it?
So first of all, I always wait till it's distilled down to 3 things, because 9 is entirely too many.
Too many things to think about.
Signal versus noise. I can't possibly handle that many data points.
So you're waiting for 3 things you didn't know about Taylor Swift.
Yeah, just the 3. If you can't get it down to 3, I don't want to read it. We are going to make selections based on what catches our eye. It's how we do it today. It's how from the 70s and the 80s, when a lot of those TV shows first, Entertainment Tonight and all those started to come up. That's what happens. We got the headline that gets us in. Once in, they show us other stuff. You're right. A lot of it can seem like link bait, and particularly the laundry list of things below. And that's true in a lot of sites. As you go through them, you're going to curate, you're going to self-curate. There are going to be artificial intelligence algorithms that curate for you, although that's a very hard thing to do too. One of the hardest things to do in news is to figure out what people actually want to read about. You can't say, well, I'm interested in business or I'm interested in mining or whatever, and then be satisfied with your feed, because you won't get 98% of stuff that you actually like to read, that you didn't know you wanted to read until you saw the headline.
Quickly, 20 seconds, favorite area that you find to invest in right now?
Well, I'm spending a lot of time on digital currencies and blockchains.
You are.
So for the last year, I've been pretty much full-time on that sort of thing. I think that has huge ramifications for many industries over a long period of time, But it's not an overnight thing. It's going to creep up on us, and before long we'll look back, and as is often famously said, we'll say, boy, we overestimated how fast this would happen, but we certainly underestimated how extensively.
This is what we keep seeing when we